Hey guys, hope you're doing well. In this video I'm going to discuss the engaged classes we've seen so far and which characters will have access to those classes. We of course don't know all of them, but we have been shown more than you might think. First I'm going to go over the class system and then I'll go through each class individually. At first it seemed likely that the game wouldn't follow in the footsteps of Three Houses where any character could change to any class. I thought there may be a similar system to Sacred Stones where you'd have multiple class paths or options. We do know that Jade has access to multiple promoted classes, being Great Knight or General, and this gave some backing to the Sacred Stones-esque theory. However, we've also seen Vanda as an Axe Fighter. His initial class is Paladin, which is a tier 2 class, and the Axe Fighter is a tier 1 class, so it's very strange that he'd be able to change to that class. So I'm not sure if that means that we can go to any class or that that's just one of his options he could change to. The one that's really confused me recently is seeing 80 as a Sword Master. Now it could very well be like Awakening, where each character can go through multiple class trees where they have their own paths within them, aka Crom being able to reclass into an Archer or Cavalier. Also, just recently, we've seen the ginger-haired girl, who we may know as Panettone, is the Japanese translation of her name, as the Berserker class. We've also seen her as a Sage. This does give a lot of credence to the theory that it is going to be like Fate or Awakening in terms of the class system. We're yet to see anyone as more than 2 different classes, apart from obviously pre-promote and promoted classes, so I'm imagining maybe there's a way to change to one other type of class tree that you can go down, or maybe even more than one. In any case, this is all guesswork because we haven't really seen enough to know exactly how the class system will work. Right, so here are all the classes. First of all, Dragon Child. This is the Alear's class and we know that they can use swords. We've also recently seen Alear's promoted class, which is supposedly called Divine Dragon. They can actually wield swords and body arts in this class. Archer, we know that they use bows and we see 80 as one. Mages, there's Citrine and Clan, and of course they use magic. We have also seen Citrine as the promoted Sage class. In terms of infantry using normal axe, swords and lancers, we have fighters and armors. We see Anna and Bukron appearing as axe fighters, and we also see some enemy lance fighters. The Berserker class is likely a form of promotion for the Axe Fighter. In terms of armors, we see Louis as a lance armor and Jade as an axe armor, and we also see some enemies as those two and sword armors. Armors will promote into generals, and we've seen Jade and Louis as the general class, and we also know that Marnie, one of the 4 hounds, is an armored unit, so she'll probably appear as a general in the game. Then we have the noble class. This is exclusive to Alfred and Celine. Alfred appears as a cavalry noble, so he rides a horse, and Celine appears as a mystical noble, using magic and swords. We've also recently seen Alfred's promoted class, which is supposedly called Avenir, where he can wield swords and lancers. In his original class, he only appears to be able to use lancers. Then we have the Lord class, which includes Diamant and Alquist. Diamant uses swords and Alquist uses bows. We are yet to see Diamant's promoted class, but we have seen Alquist, and that is called Tireur d'Elite. He appears to only use bows in this class also. Next is Tamara and Fregato's class. That would be Sentinel. Tamara is a lance infantry sentinel and Fregato is a bow cavalry sentinel. We've also recently seen Tamara's promoted class, which is called Picket, and all we can see is her using lancers. Fregato's promoted class is Cupid. We've seen it in a recent video. In terms of cavalry units, we've seen Sword, Lance and Axe Knights, and we know that Amber will be a Lance Knight. The promoted classes are Paladin and Great Knight that we know so far, and we see Vanda and also Amber as Paladins. I want to quickly say in this video that I think Amber might be Jade's brother and they're both retainers to Diamant. I think that could be quite interesting. We've seen the Great Knight class a few times too. The blonde guy we don't exactly know the name of and Jade have been seen as that. We've also seen Mauvier as a cavalier with a lance and staff available to him. I think it's safe to assume that this is the Royal Knight class that we've recently seen enemies having in one of the desert maps we saw in Corin's trailer. They don't wield staffs, but they do look similar. Now the flying classes. We've seen Rosado as a Wyvern Knight and she has axes and lancers, and then we've also seen Ivy and Hortensia appearing as wing tamers. We're yet to see anyone else with this class and they use tomes and staffs. The name of Hortensia's promoted class in Japanese is Sleipnir. It's named after the 8-legged horse that's ridden by Odin in Norse mythology. We can see that she's still wielding tomes and staffs, and she now has a crown and a neck piece in her outfit. We've also seen Ivy's promoted class, which is called Dragon Lord, and she uses the same magic and staffs. Of course, we've seen Lance Pegasus, Axe Pegasus and Sword Pegasus, and we've seen Chloe as a Lance Pegasus and also a Griffin Knight, where we've seen her wielding lancers too. The final flying class is Zephyr's. We've seen her riding a wyvern whilst using a sword. We know she's a kind of dragon, so it's strange to see her as this class, but we don't know how it's going to work. In terms of standard infantry sword users, we've seen Lapis and Goldmarie. Lapis appears as a mercenary or sword fighter, and Goldmarie appears as a hero. She can also wield lancers as this class. Lapis has been seen multiple times as a promoted sword cavalier, and then strangely, as I brought up earlier, we've seen 80 as a swordmaster. Body arts can be used by two classes as far as we've seen, and that would be monks and dancers. Fram appears as a monk and Seedle as a dancer. We've also seen the High Priest class, which could be a promoted version of the monk. They use body arts, tomes and staffs. We've seen the ginger guy from the desert as this class. We now know him as Pandoro, and you can see him in the most recent trailer wielding a tome and staffs. It's likely Panatone is his sister, considering their similar appearance and names. I'd also guess that they're retainers from Somme. Finally, Wolf Knight and Thief. We've seen Merrin as a Wolf Knight and someone else who I thought was possibly Clan, but I'm not too sure about that. It could just be Merrin's original hair colour. They use swords and daggers. We've also seen enemies as Wolf Knights, which is very interesting. Junaka is the only unit we've seen appear as a thief so far, and she's wielding a dagger. What's also important to discuss is class types. There's Dragon, Backup, Armour, Covert, Cavalry, Flying, Chi Adept and Mystical. Dragon is alear and possibly Zephyr, Veil and Lumera. This also includes Ivy's promoted class Dragon Lord, which is both Dragon and Flyer. Armoured units are mainly infantry, but are not exclusive to that, and we've seen that Great Knights are both armoured and cavalry. Covert includes bow and dagger users, Cavalry is for horse or wolf riders, Flying is Pegasus or Wyvern riders, Chi Adept is dancers and monks, and Mystical is infantry magic users, and we know that they ignore the terrain of the character they're attacking. So I think I covered everything that we know. If I missed anything, please let me know in the comments, it'd be really appreciated, and I hope you all have a lovely rest of your day. See ya!